so as to attempt to conceal it, and was only forced by a media report to then go back and amend the FEC report to disclose the payment. So, I mean,
Bertha
that's a
Lewis,
flat
let's
lie.
put that question
that's a flat lie.
First of all, once again, Ms. Mitchell and the Republicans can claim whatever they want because they don't want facts to get into the way. ACORN was never paid by the Obama campaign. The Obama campaign hired an organization called Citizen Services to do get out the vote efforts right during the primaries. And ACORN might have gotten maybe $80,000 from that organization, who also worked with a host of other organizations to do get out the vote work. So again, these are allegations, and we are being used to beat up on Mr. Obama, which I think is really scurrilous. And I think the Republicans really should be ashamed of themselves for making that kind of allegation.
Before we end this discussion, Cleta Mitchell, I want to ask you about the issue of voter suppression and the effect that this has when people become afraid to go to the polls. A federal judge says Michigan officials have to restore close to 1,500 newly registered state residents who were purged from the voting rolls. The residents' names had been removed from the rolls because the U.S. Post Office had returned their registration cards as undeliverable. This from a piece in the Detroit Free Press. U.S. District Judge Stephen Murphy telling Michigan officials to immediately halt the practice, and this issue around the country. Cleta Mitchell.
Well, you just interviewed the Ohio Secretary of State, who contends that, and she fought and argued against what the Federal Appeals Court did yesterday, because she said, well, we have these safeguards. When ACORN and other groups turn in these new registrations, we send a piece of mail to see if it's returned, and if it's returned, we flag that as a problem so that if that person shows up at the polls to vote, we ask about that. We ask for identification. Now, you're just saying exactly, she's saying, well, we have these safeguards. You're raising a question about the safeguards. And it's a continuum, it's a process, it's a system, and the left opposes every single safeguard. There's a bill that's been introduced by Senator Whitehouse from Rhode Island, Democrat from Rhode Island, to prohibit local election officials from doing what they call caging, which is sending postcards to new registrants to make sure they're real. Every safeguard is considered against some mythical view. It constitutes suppression. No, it constitutes making sure we have safeguards against voter fraud.
Bertha Lewis,
that begins with voter registration fraud.
Over 1 million new voters will vote in this most exciting and historic election. There are some people in this country who see a changing electoral demographic. We should be excited by this. The allegations of fraud are just that. They're allegations. It's manufactured. It's being done by the Republicans in a very aggressive manner. But you know what? We're proud that 1.3 million new voters will be coming out. We're proud that the majority of our 13,000 workers did very great work. We are proud that we are going to be able to have citizens that have formerly been disenfranchised to be enfranchised. And we want to tell everyone, if you're not registered, registered, and if you are, vote.
We're going to leave it there. Very much appreciate both of you being a part of this discussion. Bertha Lewis, Chief Organizer for ACORN, Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now, and Cleta Mitchell, lawyer specializing in election law, served on the Board of Directors of the American Conservative Union and the National Board of Governors for the Republican National Lawyers Association, currently serves on the Conservative Union Board. Thank you both. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Back in a minute.